Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salamun ala ibadihi allazina istafa amma ba'd. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام المرسلين ولله العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم ربي يسر ولا تؤسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين ربي زدني علما يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح. So alhamdulillah, we are back in our gathering, starting our discussion from where we left last time. We started talking about the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the blessed companions who have been given the glad tidings of Jannah in this dunya itself. And in the last discussion, we just spoke about who Sahaba Karam Rizal Ajmain were, the significance of the Sahaba, the importance and the high status that Sahaba have, and why being a Sahabi is the greatest honor that one can have after being the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ashra Mubashara are those few blessed Sahabas whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given the blessing of Jannah in this dunya. Ashra means 10, Mubashara means the one who has been given the glad tidings. Ashra, Mubashara comes from. Were these the only 10 Sahaba that were given the glad tidings of Jannah? No, there were other Sahabas who were also given the glad tidings of Jannah in this dunya as well. Then why is it that they are mentioned as Ashra, Mubashara? It's because these Sahaba Ikram Rizal Ajmain were given the glad tidings in one sitting. So in one sitting, Rasulullah mentioned the names of these Sahaba and he gave them the glad tidings. And was this the only time were they given the glad tidings? No, there are other occasions on which these Sahabas were given the glad tidings of Jannah as well. So these are truly remarkable individuals, and inshallah we'll start talking about the very first among them, who is Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the friend of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest person after the Anbiya alayhi salam among all the humans in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Abu Bakr Siddiq. Now, the way inshallah I'm going to talk about him is to just highlight few of his personality traits. We will not go into historical events and go step by step about what was the life history of Abu Bakr Siddiq like, because if we go into that, then itself would become too long a series. The purpose of this is to just to create some awareness about who these great personalities were and how did they and what makes them special as they are, right? So Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was the first male who accepted Islam outside of the family of, he was the first free male who accepted Islam outside of the immediate family of Rasulullah. Or if I say it that he was the first human to accept Islam outside the family of Rasulullah, that would not be false as well. When Rasulullah got the Nabuwwat, he first came and informed his wife about it, Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And Khadija radiyallahu ta'ala anha believed in him as the Prophet. So she was the first woman to accept Islam. Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was a young boy at that point in time. He was used to live with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his house. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made him the offer as well, and Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu as a boy from among the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also accepted Islam. Sayyidina Zaid radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who was the slave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was also informed that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been given the status of Nubuwwah, so he too accepted Islam and he basically came into the fold of Islam after accepting the Nubuwwah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Sayyidina Khadija as the first woman, Sayyidina Ali as the first child, Sayyidina Zaid as the first slave. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq was the first male outside, the free male outside of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who as an independent person accepted the offer of Islam and believed in Rasulullah as the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he has this unique honor of being the first Muslim who was not a family member or a household person of Rasulullah. It comes in the books that whoever, in fact one of the Hadeeth also says that Rasulullah said that whoever I presented Islam to, he was a bit reluctant at first, except for Abu Bakr. When Islam was presented to Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, let me make Mubashara and I'll get back to you. When Zaid was the ghulam of Rasulullah, so of course the ghulam doesn't have much of a say. But Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, we all know that his was a completely opposite behavior. He was in fact all set to go and execute Rasulullah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed his heart and he became the Nabi. He became a Muslim. And then Abu Bakr Siddiq, when Islam was presented to him, he accepted without any second thoughts. He said yes to it and accepted it. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was almost 2.5 years or 1.5 to 2.5 in between that period. He was younger to Rasulullah. So they were of the same age group. And Abu Bakr Siddiq, of course, being a citizen of Makkah, from the extended family of Quraysh, he was not from the immediate family of Rasulullah, but from the extended Quraysh family. He lived close to Rasulullah, being the same age group. They grew up together and they were well known to each other and they had great companionship even before Islam as well. It comes that he once went to a trade trip to Syria, as was the tradition at that time, that people would go with the caravans to Syria, Sham as it was known at that time, and they would go and do trade. And often on those trips they would come across, because in that area, since that time, even now, it is a very sacred place in terms of learning and wise and people being around that area. They were very very learned scholars of the people of the book in that area. So once Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, he saw a dream and he wanted to understand the interpretation of that dream. So he went to a rahib in that area when he was on that journey of trade journey, and he asked that rahib that, I've seen this dream, what does it mean? So he informed him that this dream means that you would become the wazir, or you would become second in command of a very important person in this dunya. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq was very surprised when he heard that. And interestingly, once Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq asked Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, you offered me to accept Islam and I accepted it, but on the hindsight, what would be the proof that I should have looked for to believe that you truly are the Nabi of Allah, and I should have believed in that? It's the same as Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that show me how you can bring people back to life, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that, do you not believe me? And he said, no, but this is just for the contentment of heart, walakin liyatma'innal qulub, right? That this is just for contentment of my heart. So he said in the same way that I just want to know that what should have been. He said, Rasulullah said that the proof is that what the rahib said to you when you asked him about the interpretation of your dream. And Rasulullah didn't know about this. So when he told him, so he knew that Rasulullah of course is the Nabi, that he has been informed about my dream, whose interpretation has been told to him as well. Abu Bakr Siddiq is known as Abu Bakr Siddiq because Siddiq is a title that was given to him. That was his laqab, right? And this title was given to him because of his sidq, because of his truthfulness, because of his and truthfulness of the firm belief that he had in Rasulullah being the righteous Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Rasulullah went on the Mi'raj and he came back and he started telling people that I have had, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took me from here to Palestine, and from there, from Baitul Muqaddas all the way up to 7 heavens and back, all in the same night, And so people started laughing at him, that, as they would say these days, that what are you on? We want to be on the same thing now, Zabillah, because, how are you saying something like this, that there's a possibility of somebody traveling all this distance and then also going to all the way to the heavens and come back all in one night. So one of the mushrikeen, he heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he laughed at it, and then he was going somewhere and he came across Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And Abu Bakr Siddiq had not met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by this time, and he had not known that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioning any such thing. So he said that, look, your Sahib, do you know what is he saying? He said, what is he saying? He says, their Sahib is saying that he last night, within few hours, he went all the way to Baitul Muqaddas, and from Baitul Muqaddas he went all the way to the seven heavens and came back. Do you, after listening to this, you are a wise person, you are a respected person in our community, you are an elder in our community, would you say that you still believe in what this ridiculous thing is being said? So Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying this? The person said, of course he's saying this. He said, if he is saying this, then it is truth. Without confirming that is this being said by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, without having any verification or anything, he simply said that if Rasulullah is saying this, then this is truth. And based on this support that he showed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, based on his firm belief that he showed in the truthness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he got the title Siddiq himself, right? وَالَّذِي جَاءَ بِصِدْقِ وَصَدَّقَ بِهِ. This is what fits him. He was also given the title of Atiq. Atiq, basically, it comes in many meanings. One of the meanings is someone who has been set free, right? One of the hadiths uses the same words. It says, Anta atiqullahi minan nar, that Allah has set you free from the fire. And it comes that when Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala was to be born, his mother in her previous pregnancies had experienced that any child that would be born would not live for long. So she went to Baitullah Sharif and she made a dua that, Ya Allah, if you give me a son, then set him free from death. So, and of course when he was born after that, he got a long life. So one of the title that was given to him was Atiq, right? He was an all-weather friend of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are certain people who are fair-weather friend. They are with you, as the tide is high, and as soon as things start getting low, they leave the soonest they can. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was an all-weather friend, and he stayed with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in all circumstances, whether it was the toughness that was given, the tough time that the Quraysh were giving to him, or even in any battles, and even in the good times when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was coming to Makkah as a conqueror, he was also with them. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was such a staunch supporter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that there was a time when some kuffar, they were giving a tough time to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abu Bakr Siddiq came to him and he stood in between them and the kuffar and tried to divert the discussion towards himself. So kuffar warned him that, move away, otherwise you're going to get it from us as well. So he basically made Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam go away, and he stood and took all the beating from, so much so that he actually fainted. He got so badly beaten. And when he was taken home, and was after a while when he came back into his senses, the first question he asked was that, is Rasulullah fine or not? That is how much he stood up for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at all times. He has been given the honor that 4 generations of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq were Sahabi. This is a unique honor. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he has been mentioned in 181 ahadith, out of which there are some ahadith in which both Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar radiallahu ta'ala have been mentioned. And when I say they have been mentioned, it means these are the ahadith in which the greatness of Abu Bakr Siddiq is mentioned. So in some of those out of the 881, some have come with Abu Bakr Siddiq and Hazrat Umar together 14 of them are such in which all four Khulafai Arba, they have been mentioned. So the first four caliphs, they have been mentioned. And the remaining are those in which only Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq are mentioned alone. So 181 ahadith in which Sayyidina Rasulullah have praised Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. The word Abu Bakr, right, also indicates his high status. How so? The root words for Abu Bakr or Bakr, Abu Bakr means father of Bakr, right? The root words for, this is his kunya. The roots word for Bakr are ba, ka, ra, right? Ba, kaf and ra. And this word, the words that are usually formed from these root words, they are always come in the meaning of the first. For example, there is a word that is used for the first fruit of the season. It's called bakura, right? It's also from bakara. Then bukra, we must have heard this word from Arabs, use it a lot. Bukra, especially the Saudis, they use it a lot. Bukra is usually used to say the first half of the next day, right? That's what it means. Bakira, you might have heard this word. Bakira is is a woman who has not yet been with her husband, right? So this is the first time she would be with her husband. So this Bakara usually comes in the meaning of the first, and it fits Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq as he is the first in the Sahaba in their ranking as well. Sayyidina Abu Bakr has the honor of compiling the Quran. So what had happened was that after Rasulullah at the time of passing away of Rasulullah, the Quran was never compiled. It was in the memory of Sahaba Ikram. They all knew what Quran was like. Rasulullah had put Quran in its form as we know it today, but it wasn't in any compiled form. Quran, there were 5-6 Sahaba Ikram who had the responsibility of writing down the ahadith as they had come as well. And all those ahadiths were written down on, all these ayats were written down on leaves, leather, stones, and they were with different individuals who were writing it down. And in no one place was it all written down one together. So when they fought the first person who claimed Nabuwa after Rasulullah Musallama Kazzab, in that battle a lot of Muslims earned Shahadat. And among those Muslims who had earned Shahadat were a lot of Hufaz as well. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he came to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu and he said that, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, Ya Khalifa Rasulullah, the Sahaba who are Hufaz, if they pass away at this rate, they may become a possibility that Quran will not be preserved. So we should do something to preserve the Quran. So initially Abu Bakr Siddiq did not agree with this, but then his heart also opened up to the idea and he assigned the responsibility to Sayyidina Zaid radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was a Hafiz of Quran and a Katib of Wahi as well, that you are the leader, take 5-6 other Sahaba. They formed a committee and they were given the responsibility of gathering all the written text of Quran and taking it under the government custody, because Sayyidina Abu Bakr was the government. So they gathered the Quran and put it together in form of a Musaf, in a sense that different surahs were compiled together and they were put together, but order wasn't given. The Quran as we see, in which the surahs are in order and everything, that wasn't done, just that the text of Quran was compiled and put together in one place. And then later on in Sayyidina Usman time, the work was redone and the first Musaf itself was made, and then 7 copies of it were sent across the different parts of the world, and that's where the Quran as we know it comes from. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr has the honor of compiling the Quran for the first time. So all the Quran that is read today, the sawab of it goes back to him as well. So when Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, he became the Khalifa, he actually became the, what you call, second in command of Rasulullah. He became the person who took the reins from Rasulullah. He became the leader of the Muslims after Rasulullah. And he got this honor while his father was also alive. So it's not that, that he was, so he had elders and yet he got this honor at that point in time. He appointed Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu in his life to be his successor. And among the things, because he had a very short duration, but among the things that he did manage to put together, he was the first to set the concept of Baitul Mal for the Ummah as well. The Khulafa that came afterwards were given the title of Amirul Mu'mineen. He was given the title of Khalifa Rasulullah because of the unique position that he was. So he was Atiq, he was Siddiq, and he was Khalifa Rasulullah as well, right? And not only was he the first to reign after Rasulullah in this dunya, Rasulullah has also mentioned that the first person to enter in Jannah after me would be Abu Bakr Siddiq as well. He had what we call Mayyat Kubra with Rasulullah, which means that he had a very high level of companionship, or he was the closeness with Rasulullah. And the reason we say this is because of Quran validating the level of companionship that they had. When they were in Ghar Sor, and there was a time when the kuffar were just outside, at that point in time, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq was worrying about the safety of Rasulullah, and the ayat came down in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna Allaha ma'ana. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Rasulullah that don't worry, because why? Inna Allaha ma'ana. Indeed, Allah is with us. The beauty of this ayah is that when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam was in a similar situation and his people were worried about the circumstances that were prevailing, and with Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam was Sayyidina Harun alayhi salam as well, who was a Nabi, at that time the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the words that Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam said, that Inna ma'iya Rabbi sayahdeen, that indeed my Rabb is with me and he will guide us. So Musa alayhi salam said that my Rabb is with me and through me he will guide all of us. About Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, Rasulullah said, Inna Allaha ma'ana, indeed our Rabb is with us. That meant that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the two together in their companionship. That is the high status of companionship that Abu Bakr Siddiq had with Rasulullah. So much so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the glad tidings that have come for Rasulullah in Quran, the similar wording of ayats have come for Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu as well. In Surah Duha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says for Rasulullah, وَلَسَوْفَ يُؤْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى, that your Rabb would give you so much that you would be pleased, right? Easiest way to understand is that, when we are given so much, we say, bas, and that's enough, right? So it is the same thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you with so much that you would say that, Ya Allah, this is too much, right? Similar words have come for Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq in Surah Layl as well. وَلَا سَوْفَ يَرْضَى, right? So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will soon please you. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, it comes that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be in extreme anger. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be very, very angry. And people would go to their prophets, and each prophet would refuse to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of anything, and they would all present their excuses. So people would come to Rasulullah and Rasulullah would then go in sajda, and then he would start praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like Allah has never been praised before. And in that sajda, for a long sajda and praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger would calm down, and he would ask that, O my Mahbub, get up and ask me, what do you want? So he would say that, Ya Allah, I want you to start the questioning of people. उनका मामला शुरू करें ताकि इनका हिसाब शुरू करें ताकि बात आगे बढ़े. लोग परेशान हैं, हिसाब शुरू किया जाए. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say that, then present who you want to present for hisab. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah would present Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and Allah would be so pleased with Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu that whatever anger was left after the du'as of Nabi Prophet, even that would cool down, and then everybody else's hisab would become easy. He was also in Quran given the title of Sani Isnan, the second of the two, right? Same incident in Ghar Saur. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Is akhrajahul lazina kafaru Sani Isnain is huma fil ghar. When the kuffar took them out of Makkah at that time, the second of the two was in the cave with them, right? So the second of the two was Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? He also had as I also mentioned, that Rasulullah was called Ya Rasulullah, and he was after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called Khalifatul Rasulullah. So he also even had the resemblance in the title with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He number of occasions proved that the thought process, the attitude, the entire nature, the tabiyat, the Abu Bakr Siddiq was similar to that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How so? In the incident of Badr, when number of people from Kuffar and Makkah were taken as the prisoners of war, so Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made a mashwara that what should be done about them, what should we do about these people. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that they should be executed, right? There's no room for such disbelievers to live. Execute them, get done and over with them. Sayyidina Rasulullah asked Abu Bakr Siddiq, and he said that we should set them free, and in return we should take some fidya from them. We should take some what would be the fidya in English? Compensation. Okay. So we should take some compensation and we should set them free. And Rasulullah did exactly that. He himself had this in mind, so he said that you can either pay or teach some of our men how to read or write, and that will be your compensation. So, they thought the same way. On the incident of Sulh Hudaybiyah, where Rasulullah had gone for Umrah and he was stopped at the point of Hudaybiyah, and the kuffar didn't let them proceed further, and they said that you cannot go and do Umrah, you have to come next year. So much so that they made them sign a contract in which they didn't even write that Rasulullah as the title of Rasulullah. They said Muhammad. When Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was the author of that treaty that was being written, he refused to write Muhammad. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I cannot do this honor of writing your name, but Rasulullah said that, tell me where it is to be written, and I'll do it myself, because they were adamant that they should say that it is Muhammad versus the leaders of Makkah who were doing the treaty. That was the level to which, and there were a number of clauses in that treaty which were against the Muslims. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was really, really upset that, and many other Sahaba, they were really, really upset that why are we doing this? So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he went to Rasulullah and he said, Oh Rasulullah, are we not on haqq? Are we not on the right? Rasulullah said that indeed we are. He said, Ya Rasulullah, is it not that we will go to Jannah after we die? He said that yes, you will go to Jannah when you die. He said, and is it not that the kuffar will go into Jahannam if they die? He said, yes, it would be that they would go in Jahannam if they die. He said, then what are we waiting for? Let's get on with it. Either we go to Jannah or they go to Jahannam. What's the hold up? So Rasulullah said that, Umar, do you know that I am the messenger of Allah? He said, indeed, Ya Rasulullah. He said, do you know that everything that I do it for the command of Allah? He said, Ya Rasulullah, indeed this is the case. He said, then just trust me. So he became quiet, but still he was raging. So he went to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he said, Ya Abu Bakr, is it not true that Rasulullah is the true messenger? He said, indeed, he is the true messenger. He said, indeed, is it not true that we are on the right? He said, yes, it is true that we are on the right. Is it not true that we will go to Jannah? He said, yes, we will go to Jannah. Is it not right that they will go to Jahannam? Yes. And he said, then why are we waiting? What is the hold up? Why is Rasulullah doing this? He said, Umar, do you not know that Rasulullah is the messenger of Allah? He said, yes, he is. He said, do you not know that anything that he does by the command of Allah? He said, yes, he does. He said, then trust. This was the level of same wavelength that was Rasulullah and Abu Bakr Siddiq that they operated on. And that is why even after Rasulullah, the very few similarities came through in the short duration that he was the Khalifa. There was a clan, Banu Saqif, which came to Rasulullah and they requested that they should be allowed that they leave Salah. And Rasulullah refused, that there is no such excuse. There was a clan that came to Rasulullah, to Abu Bakr Siddiq, and they requested that we should be granted the permission not to pay zakah. And Rasulullah, Abu Bakr Siddiq refused and said that we will go and do jihad with you if you are not going to agree, right? So there was a clan called Banu Khaza'a, and Rasulullah did one ghazwa with them, right? And after Rasulullah passed away, they all became murtad. They basically left Islam. So Abu Bakr Siddiq decided to do fight with them. So the same thing that Rasulullah did, they did ghazwa with them. Abu Bakr Siddiq did a fight with them as well. He made the same person, Sayyidina Amr bin As, the Imam, the leader of the forces, as Rasulullah had made Amr bin As the Amir of the forces. Sayyidina Rasulullah would often put Sayyidina Hassan on his shoulder and would take him around when he would be going from one place to another. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq would, whenever he would come across Sayyidina Hassan, he would just put him on his shoulder and carry him around in the same manner as well, right? They also had resemblance in their in the way the families were, right? Rasulullah had Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu and Ali, right, as their son-in-law. Abu Bakr Siddiq also had the Sabiqeen Awwaleen as their son-in-law. Rasulullah had his son from the Muhajireen. Abu Bakr Siddiq had his son from the Muhajireen as well. Sayyidina Usman, who was in Ashra Mubashara as well, he was the son-in-law of Rasulullah, and Sayyidina Zubair, who was also Ashra Mubashara, was the son-in-law of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq as well. Similarly, there was resemblance in their children, and even in their children and children as well, there was resemblance. There was one occasion in which both of them was Imam of the same Salah as well. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq started the Salah, and then Rasulullah came and joined the Salah, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq moved back, and Sayyidina Rasulullah led that Salah towards the end. There's a very interesting incident that happened at the time of the Hijrah, that when they were climbing towards Ghar Sur, they didn't want to leave any footsteps behind. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq was climbing on his toes, tiptoeing towards the top, and Sayyidina Rasul was also doing that, but he was finding it a bit difficult to do. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq suggested to him that, Ya Rasulullah, why don't you come over my shoulders and I'll carry you to that place. So Sayyidina Rasulullah accepted that offer, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq had the honor of carrying Rasulullah to the cave. Later on at the Fatah Makkah, there was, when Rasulullah was in the Kaaba and putting down the idols that were there, there was one idol which was on a height, and one of the Sahabis who were with Rasulullah, he bent down and he said, by Rasulullah, why don't you stand on top of me and then take down that idol? So Rasulullah said that you will not be able to take the load of Nubuwah. That if I stand on you, the load of Nubuwah is such that you will not be able to take that load. So he didn't get on his top. But on the top of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, he did, and over there he didn't. This journey of Hijrah was a very unique journey, and it was in fact so remarkable. And I'll tell you a few things about it. That when Rasulullah was to go for Hijrah, he went to Abu Bakr Siddiq's house, and Abu Bakr Siddiq was waiting for him. So Rasulullah came at the night and he knocked, and he was surprised to see that Abu Bakr Siddiq was all up and ready to go. So he said, Abu Bakr, how come you're ready at this hour of the night? He said, Rasulullah, Allah had put in my heart that you would be coming, so I was just waiting that as soon as you come we should be ready to leave. So Rasulullah had come to him and he was ready to to get going with him. Then he had the opportunity of serving Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the cave itself. What had happened was that when they reached the cave, he saw that there was a small cave. So he said to Ya Rasulullah, let me go and get the cave ready for you so that you can come in. And he went in and he blocked all the small holes that were there just so that no insect can come out and bite them. But there was just one small hole that was left which he could not find anything to block with. He said, it's not wise to keep Rasulullah standing outside. I'll block it with my foot. So they went in and he said to Rasulullah, you are tired, why don't you? He offered his lap and he said, why don't you lie down on my lap and I will stay awake and look after for the enemies. So Rasulullah lied down on his lap and then he blocked that one small hole that was left with his foot. But before I go on, just picture this. Here is Rasulullah and he's lying on the lap of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And the poets have written such beautiful verses about this that the best way to say is that as though it's like Rasulullah is resting, his beautiful face is right in his lap, and Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq has all the time in the world to observe the beauty of Rasulullah, right? Like this is like a never in a lifetime chance that anybody can get, and here is no third person to disturb them. He can look at him for as long as he wants, and he's just lying there. And somebody has said that this is like a Quran is on the Rahel. The Rahel is like this holder, and he's just reading that Quran from the Rahel itself, right? And one of the holes which he was blocking from his foot actually had, and Wallahu alam, whether it was a snake or a scorpion or whatever, but it had something in there which started stinging Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Now Abu Bakr Siddiq was of course in pain and he wanted to, imagine if you're sitting and something strikes you, what would happen to you? Like, you would be like, get up, something can pick me, right? But he didn't of course want to disturb Rasulullah, so now he is resisting. But it was hurting so much that invariably tears started flowing down out of his eyes. And then one of the tears fell onto the blessed face of Rasulullah. And Rasulullah woke up and he said, Abu Bakr, what had happened? He said, Ya Rasulullah, there's something which is biting me. I'm sorry, I didn't want to disturb you, but I can't keep it anymore. Right? So then Rasulullah woke up. When Sayyidina Ali on Khaybar, on that day, Sayyidina Ali's eyes were hurting. And Rasulullah put his blessed saliva on the eyes of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu to heal him, and he became fine. But much before, in the ghar, in this cave, Rasulullah gave his blessed saliva to Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, and whatever had stung him the pain of it completely went away. Some have drawn a very interesting comparison over here. They said that when Rasulullah was about to migrate, he made Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu in charge of all the amana that people had kept with him, and he said to them that keep these, and when people who had given me these things, when they come looking for it, return these amanat for them, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Rasulullah made Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu in charge of other people's amanat, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Abu Bakr Siddiq in charge of the amanah for the entire ummah, that he said that you be the caretaker of Rasulullah. What a great honor that is, right? Another comparison that comes very interesting from this incident is that there were two migrations that took place at the time of night. One was the Hijrah that was from Makkah to Medina, initiated in the night, and the other was the incident of Mi'raj, right? But the difference is that in the incident of Mi'raj, the companion from Rasulullah came to Rasulullah, whereas in the incident of Hijrah, the Rasulullah went to Abu Bakr Siddiq itself, right? The second difference is that the companion who was on Mi'raj could not go to the end destination with Rasulullah, because he said that there's a point after which even my wings burn, so I can't go. And in the incident of Hijrah, Abu Bakr Siddiq went all the way up to Medina with Rasulullah as well. The the amount of sawab, the amount of reward that Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu gathered in this very night with Rasulullah that he had spent, the 3 nights that he had spent in the journey, the comparison of it is like no other. There is a hadith in which Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu says that if the iman of the entire ummah is to be put in one scale and the iman of Abu Bakr is to be put on the other scale, the scale with the iman of Abu Bakr would be heavier than the iman of the rest of the ummah. It comes that Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu would often go to Abu Bakr Siddiq and he would say that, take all my good deeds, but just give me the deeds of those 3 nights that you had with Rasulullah. It comes in one hadith that I do not remember the wordings of the hadith exactly, but it's on some of these lines that Sayyidina Aisha was looking at the stars with Rasulullah and she saw the brightest star in the sky and she said, who do you think among your companions is this star? And he said Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So she felt a bit jealous because, why did my Rasulullah take the name of my father? Like if all the stars are the companions and the brightest star is Umar, why didn't so she couldn't hold herself and she said, what about my father? So he said that your father is like a full moon and when that is out, there's no other star that shines, right? So the night that he has spent with me, the khidmat that he did on that journey outshines everything else. It is on those lines. I do not remember it exactly verbatim what it was. No problem. Rasulullah said that I have fulfilled the rights of every human being, but the rights of Abu Bakr on me can only be fulfilled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And last but not the least, that among the people who Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu invited to Islam, 5 of them were the Sahaba who were given the glad tidings of Ashra Mubashara. So the high caliber of the invitation of Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq is that, like the quality of people that he plugged in to the system, right? Or the quality of reference that he had was that 5 of them actually got the title of Ashra Mubashara himself. Right? Sayyidina Usman bin Affan, Sayyidina Usman bin Mat'un, Sayyidina Talha, Sayyidina Zubair, Sayyidina Saad bin Abi Waqqas, all of them. Out of this, Hazrat Talha, Zubair, Saad bin Abi Waqqas, Usman bin Affan were given the title of Rasul. This was Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, the first Khalifa, the first among the Ashra Mubashara. Allahu Akbar Kabira. What a great personality. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to grow in our love of Rasulullah and his Sahaba Ikram radiallahu ajma'een, especially the Sahabi like Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, whom Rasulullah loved so much. May we also develop the love for him. The purpose of today's gathering was, like I said, to grow or to just grow some level of awareness in our hearts that can draw Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu close to us in his respect, in his regard, and in his value, in the service that he has done to this deen and the regard that Rasulullah had for him. If Rasulullah regarded him, so shall we. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب